Hey Dutchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and I had the camera facing where I won't be found. It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to my review of the newest EP from Seven Lions, Where I Won't Be Found. Seven Lions is an American DJ and producer best known for, in large part, pioneering the melodic dubstep sound, which kind of started to pick up a lot of steam around 2012 when brostep was kind of fading into the back of pop culture. This melodic dubstep sound, if for some reason you've never heard of it before, kind of takes the melodic approach that most euphoric trance music does and kind of combines that with the sound design of genres like brostep, putting them together and making for some really heavily emotional dubstep music, which I've been able to get down with for at least a few years. My personal introduction to the genre was with Fractal's song Elements in 2013, but as I got more and more into Fractal's music, I started to realize that producers like him and AU5 heavily pointed back to what Seven Lions was creating in the beginning. In fact, if you listen to any producers in the same vein as Fractal, AU5, Illenium, even Porter Robinson, chances are they've been influenced heavily by Seven Lions. Sadly, I think that Seven Lions is a little bit past the heat of his popularity. I don't think we're ever going to see him release a single that's as successful as Strangers, for example. But with Seven Lions kind of fading into the back, and then people like Illenium really taking center stage recently, I've only gained more and more respect for the producer. It's also especially cool to see Seven Lions kind of stepping back and doing more releases on indie labels like Monstercat and Seeking Blue, which was also the label that housed this EP. Although I'll say I was absolutely in love with Seven Lions' last major label release, his Creation EP on Casablanca, one of the few 9.5s I've ever given on my channel, and although I don't have the same exact thoughts on that EP, I don't love it as much as I did on my first few listens of it, I still really like it. I think it's a great EP, probably Seven Lions' best yet. With that notion, I was very excited to see what Seven Lions was going to do with his 2017 EP, and I was very excited to see it housed on one of my favorite labels. If you guys didn't know, Seeking Blue is one of the big up-and-coming indie-tronica labels. With that, I kind of had a feeling that we were going to see at least some level of sonic transformation from Seven Lions moving into the indie-tronica direction. And it's not unfair to assume that this EP would have had a lot more lush instrumentation than the Creation EP did, considering most of what Seeking Blue releases is so heavily influenced by kind of the indie rock stuff and has more use of guitar and things like that. To my surprise though, Where I Won't Be Found sees Seven Lions more or less moving back into the melodic dubstep vein and not really moving forward in the direction he was coming from with Creation. And of course we do see Seven Lions bringing some level of change to his sound on this EP. I'd say the biggest change is that he's letting future bass elements kind of take over when he at least tries out melodic dubstep on this EP. We see like the reverse synths, the big wobbly chords, and the Unlike Pluto collaboration Rescue Me is just straight future bass. Meanwhile, songs like Freesol and Silent Skies look back to Seven Lions' more comfortable style of melodic dubstep, but then manage to at least kind of innovate it with those future bass elements. As usual though, Seven Lions' recruitment of various vocalists is pretty on point. My personal favorite appearance on this EP was probably Skylar Stonestreet on the song Freesol, and I haven't heard anything from her since Electric Glow by Tritonal, so it was really cool to kind of see her coming back and in a great way. Really loved her vocals on this track. Meanwhile, you've got appearances from people like Rico and Miela, which in my opinion were very, very underwhelming. And maybe it's just because I haven't listened to them heavily in a few years, but I don't remember Rico and Miela's songwriting sounding this lazy and lackluster. I remember they had a super unique song with some very cool story writing, Ghost by Tom Swoon and Stadium X, I'm pretty sure if I remember that correctly, kind of portraying this interesting metaphorical relationship between a human and a ghost. And I don't know when their songwriting turned into just Miela singing Without You My Love and nothing else for 3 minutes straight on that track, or in a similar situation Miela singing Hoping the Sun Won't Rise for about a minute straight on that track. And it's a shame too to see these tracks that actually have some pretty stunning production on them to kind of get wasted by these really lackluster vocal appearances. I would have preferred probably both of these tracks to be completely vocalist. I probably would have preferred them more with Sun Won't Rise being a little bit more cinematic. I think that one especially would have worked better without the vocals. But then Without You, My Love, I think it needs to have the vocals to work. The beat kind of reminds me of an old Cascade song, and his stuff is very vocal influenced, so obviously I think that kind of needs to be there. I just don't love the repetition. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I think Neon Heart's vocals on the title track were just about completely wasted. Neon Heart's vocalist reminds me a lot of Kai, the same one who sang on Revolution by Diplo, so I think Neon Heart could have been used in a much better way on this track. Even the verse kind of builds up like this is going to be a more melodic dubstep kind of sounding song. I think it could have flipped nicely into some kind of dubstep / trap hybrid, and instead it gets completely wasted on what in my opinion is Seven Lions just kind of trying to recreate the vibe of the more festival sounding house songs from the Creation EP. Other than those 3 appearances on this 8-track EP, I didn't really have any big problems with the vocals not super well fitting with the instrumentals. As I already mentioned, we see Unlike Pluto make an appearance on this EP as a producer on the song Rescue Me, and to me at least, Unlike Pluto typically defines greatness with his really R&B influenced electronic music, typically just layered and delicious instrumentation, and instead of getting this epic collision of melodic dubstep and electronic R&B, Unlike Pluto and Seven Lions give us about the most unoffensive future bass song they possibly could have. And that's not to say that this song or any of the other content really on this EP is bad per se. In fact, if I would have seen any newcomer put out the level of quality that Seven Lions is on the majority of this EP, I would be very, very impressed. But the matter of the fact is that it's so subpar compared to really everything else that Seven Lions has done at this point. And to be fair to Seven Lions, I do like a good chunk of this EP a lot. Especially songs like Slow Dive, which have these really epic building vocals going on throughout it, and then it just kind of drops into this really minimal section with these little progressive plucks going on. I thought that song was really cool. I especially loved the song Steps of Deep Slumber, which more or less saw Seven Lions going back into more of a progressive trance sound. This song actually reminded me a lot of his song Higher Love with Paul Meany. Except this song is like perfect to me because it doesn't have any kind of vocals or anything distracting from it. It's just a basic showcase of Seven Lions sound, and that's all I needed for this song to work. And I definitely don't want to give the wrong kind of vibes off. I did not think this EP was bad. I think Seven Lions' production for the most part on this EP was pretty stellar. I just think it's fairly far below Creation, at least for me, so my rating isn't going to be really super close to that one. But what can you do? I'm personally still a big fan of Seven Lions, and I think he's going to keep delivering that consistent quality. I just hope his next project is a little bit more out there than this one was. For Where I Won't Be Found, I am feeling a strong 6.5 out of 10. If you guys haven't checked this EP out yet and you'd like to, as always, I have the Spotify link down in the description, and if you guys have listened to this, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. As always, I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you later. Peace.
Wow.